here with my fall garden update. This is probably the last garden update that I'll be doing this year. It is getting close to our first frost. In fact, our first frost date is usually October 10th, and today is past that, but we haven't seen any frost yet, which is really good because it's helping a few things here. So I want to turn you around, and this is our sweet potato bed. We already pulled out one sweet potato from it, and they really look good. You can see that the bed is really doing well. This year we actually made an actual bed. Before I was just mounding it up, but that got a little messy, so we made an actual bed, and you can see the different types of leaves. So these leaves here, what are the Vardamon, that's the name of this type of potato. And then you can see in here too, these type, okay, see how the leaves are a little different. That one is the New Jersey white ones. We have them all mixed in here. Probably in the next week, before we get to the first frost, I'm gonna pull them out. I have delayed because we've had pretty warm time, so I didn't want to pull these out, just because if I pulled them out early, if I leave them for a little bit longer, we actually get a lot bigger sweet potatoes. And since it's been warm, this is probably the latest I have pulled them out because of frost. Also, I noticed the leaves, until maybe the last 2 days, the leaves haven't been turning yellow. So I usually wait till the edges start turning yellow before I pull them out. So that's why I've kept them in there. And here's my next thing I wanted to show you. Okay, this year we added these two beds. We really like the metal corrugated. This is my strawberry bed. It looks like it needs to be weeded. I see some squash growing over there, but this is my first bed. We took all the strawberries we had. We tried to do a bed over here, and we figured it was too close to the fence. It was a little hard to weed around, so we put it over here. We seeded all this area with grass. So this used to be all wood chips and a bed, but we seeded it with grass. And here's my first bed for the strawberries. Now here's the second bed for strawberries, and you can see there's some kale popping up. I'm leaving that grow because we're not really using this bed yet. First year we're going to be over in this bed, okay, and it's growing. Then we're going to take the runners from this bed, and I've already got some of them in here. You can see 1, 2, 3, some runners in there. And then by next year, we should have this bed full. Then what we're going to do is, after the strawberries, this is probably not next year, but the following year, these two beds will be full. And then this one, after the strawberries come up, we're going to clear this bed out, put runners in from the old bed over here, and then from there on out we're just going to switch back and forth. So we'll get strawberries here and here, and then we'll rip these out, put new runners in, and it will go back to back. That's just to keep the disease out. It's better to see on the other side, but this is we grew guguzza. My wife is from, her family's from Italy, and she remembers when she was a kid, her grandmother and grandfather growing guguzza and making soup. So she wanted to do it. It's kind of like a family tradition. So we started growing these, and look at these things. I mean, they're huge. This one's not even ready yet because it's got to be a light color, but it's already like almost 2-3 feet. Here's some more. These things grow super prolific. Look at that. There's two there. I see one over there. I mean, we're gonna have way too much. We already pulled off probably about 5 or 6 of these. Back here you can see a bigger one, and so we're making her soup and using it for other things. You can use them a lot like zucchini. I want to try to cut some up and grill it on the grill like zucchini and see how it is. We made some guguzza parm, which was really good. Some hunting equipment. Hunting season's in full session now. I've only went out a couple times scouting, but I'm going to be going hardcore on that soon. Here's another change we made this year. This is our asparagus bed. and the asparagus wasn't doing too well because we had too much shade from a tree that we just took down over to the left. And we now put it in a bed, and we're just leaving it this year. We didn't pick any this year because they didn't look good enough, but it's looking a lot better this year. So maybe by next year we'll be picking it. Okay, now let's go into a really important thing. And think I don't think I've talked about this for a really long time. This is let me get you a shot over this direction. So this is my compost beds. I have 3 beds, and this is the way I work my compost. First off is, let's talk about compost. You know, I have so many people ask me about gardening, and they're like, oh, what do you do? Do you add fertilizer? Do you use compost tea? Do you use vermicomposting? Well, yes, it's all compost. I mean, I have these beds, and each one of these beds is about a year worth of stuff. So I just use this bed for a year, then we cover it with straw or something dry on the top. So I'm gonna put. I just got out of this bed. This bed was just finished up in September for the year. So what I'm gonna do is the hay that we have, the hay bales we have, we're gonna cover this up, make like a blanket, and let it grow down. Now people keep on asking me about vermicomposting. Well, if I go to the bottom of this bed, there is a million worms. When I did vermicomposting, all I did was I came out to this bed and I took the red wigglers out of it and then was doing it in a bucket for a while. And after a while, I was like, why am I doing the bucket? I'm just going to throw everything into the compost bin. So this is my method. You do a year of compost in one of these bins. Then after a year, I let this sit for a whole year before I use it, and I go to the second bin. So this is the one we're working on now. I like to clean these up. Usually what I do is I usually take straw. We have hay from our rabbits too. And I line it like a nest around the outside with the straw. Then I put all this green stuff in the center, and I usually cover it with straw. Now we just threw a bunch of stuff in here, so I haven't done it yet. And then we'll fill this one up for a whole year, and then we go to the third bin. Now this third bin I kind of use as my storage. So this is a bunch of sticks that we have. What we're going to do with these is eventually they'll probably just get burned in our fire pit. And then once this is done for years, so next September, I'm going to finish up this pile, and I'm going to move over this side. Now it looks like this is we just started throwing stuff in here and it looks really full, but believe it or not, as soon as it rains, it just keeps on getting lower and lower. Like you'll actually come out here after a rain and see it a lot lower, and that's just from the composting action and the compaction. And then we'll go to this bin, and then after a year, okay, we'll be in this bin. After a year, we'll move to this bin, and I'll put this stuff in the garden. So the whole bin will go into the garden, and by a year, it's almost like pure compost. Sometimes I sieve it a little bit, but most of the time I just dump it right into our bed and then kind of compost a little bit more in the bed. So a few more things here. This is a plum tree that we have, or no, not a plum. This is a nectarine. I'll tell you what, we haven't had too much luck with nectarines. So my wife and I were gonna cut this tree down. We have raspberries over here behind it. We're gonna make a trellis over here for the raspberries because we think the raspberries will do better if they come out from under those trees a little bit. We got our blueberries over here. You've featured them in videos before. And we're gonna extend the blueberries all the way to the end of this bed and get rid of this nectarine tree. Nectarine trees just aren't doing very well for us, so we're kind of getting rid of them all. Okay, so let's go into the garden. Here's our Asian pear tree. You can see the little Asian pears on there. Asian pears are really late. They really come late. It's kind of surprising how late. Okay, so here's the finish of my bed. So, got a little bit of romaine lettuce here in the front. I got these beans. These are string beans that are purple type string beans. Cleared out my tomatoes from here. This has my garlic. I planted garlic in there. You can see all my bagged these are Brussels sprouts, and as I said before, we've had trouble getting Brussels sprouts. So if it starts getting too late in the season and we're getting close, because we always get close but never get them, I'm putting these into the greenhouse to finish them up. Here's my trail of tier beans, along with all my pepper plants. We've been getting a whole lot. Look at all these. You can see a whole string of green peppers, red peppers. We have these bell peppers. These up front are cayenne. Some more bell. I mean, we're killing it with the peppers this year. Here's our beautiful. Everybody mentions how beautiful these are. This is my Swiss chard. They're looking great this year. I mean, I have tons of Swiss chard. We like to put these in with our. We fry potatoes and throw them in with the fried potatoes and carrots. So this is the carrots that have been in the garden for a while. So we've been using these as we need them. Some more of our Brussels sprouts. Oh, new addition. I've tried this many years in the past and I've always been unsuccessful, but beets. And look, I'm getting actually my first beets ever. I don't know why. I think I was planting them too late or in the spring and too late in the summer. I don't know. I just got them this year. Oh, you can see our first peas. These are actually English peas, so we have to wait till the pods are bigger. And we got some more peppers here. Here's our Aruba peppers. I had for Earth Day at the dojo, I always give away some tomato plants, and one of the parents, grandfathers that was into gardening was kind enough to give me some Aruba peppers. These are great. We've been eating these. They're like a great size. I'll tell you. They're not too big. They're a little thinner. Really tasty. Oh, okay. So now you can see this is the gagutsa. Look at how big this is. I mean, this thing's just going crazy. We keep on having to cut it back. And here's a gagutsa that's almost ready to pick. See how big it is? It's like 4 foot long. It's probably almost as tall as me. We're having a lot of fun with those. We're just trying to figure out different recipes. I think when you're gardening, one of the most important things when you're gardening is to find recipes for everything you like growing so that when you get to that time of year, you have plenty of recipes that are like your favorite. And a lot of people say, oh, well, then you end up eating too much. But actually, something like gagutsa, we're probably not going to get any other time of the year. So it really becomes a huge treat for us to eat that. And that's why it's so great. So if you have a lot of recipes, that really works out well. Let's get back around here. And it's not going. There we go. Underneath the gagutsa plant actually this is Amish corn salad that's coming up. It just keeps reseeding itself right there. So we'll probably pull the gagutsa out and leave the corn salad. This bed, I don't know how well this is going to do if we're going to have enough time, but we got turnips, some radishes in here. We have carrots, another thing of carrots. Now, according to my calculations, we should have had enough time, but I don't know why they're not finishing up. Here's the beans that I do every year. These are called Hutterite soup beans, and we like to make a ham soup with beans in it, and I use these beans to make that soup. So in the greenhouse, doing a little experiment, I had a volunteer tomato come up pretty late in the season in this greenhouse, so I just threw it in one of our fabric pots and just let it grow. I wanted to see how late in the season I could get tomatoes. That's going to be interesting because my tomatoes are well done. We haven't hit the first frost, so we'll see how far I can extend my tomato season in this greenhouse. Here's our figs. We're going to have our figs in here for the winter. Okay, well, a few other items I probably haven't shown you yet. This is, it's losing its leaves. This is an almond tree. We're not sure how well our almond tree is going to end up doing, but we're hoping that at some point this tree will take off. It's had a little difficulty starting. My wife keeps on wanting to tear it out, and I go, no, no, no. Let's just see how it does, because I'm hoping that maybe it will spruce up. Here's another chestnut tree. Planted this a couple years ago. We have just moved this, so it's a little further away from other things, but it's looking really good. And hopefully in the coming years, we'll get some chestnuts. All right, guys. Well, that's my fall garden update. I bet this is probably going to be my last gardening update for the year. It's been a fantastic year for us gardening. I mean, we've had so many vegetables coming out of the garden that we've constantly been eating them almost every day, and they're just a constant source of nutrients for us. I can't wait to get, maybe I'll show you how many sweet potatoes I get this year. I like to always update you on that. Thank you though for watching our video. We have a lot of really awesome things coming up at the channel. First off is I'm starting to get together some sponsors, so when you see them pop up, if you guys can join our sponsors and support them so that they can support us and we can keep on getting these great videos out to you. Also, we're doing this awesome podcast. We're posting it here, Lipson. We also have it on Spotify and iTunes. So look for our podcast, which is the Max Impact Theory, and just look it up. And that's me, and my head instructor is our producer, Justin Alvieri. So we have some great content on there, and we look forward to you commenting. Let us know in the comments how your garden's doing. I always like to hear what's going on with people's garden. If you have any tips, see anything, you want to give me a tip, I'm always up for that. I like to hear people's feedback on things, and we'll see you in the next video. Okay, guys, thanks for watching.